Hey guys, today we're going to be replacing the alternator in a 2007 Subaru Impreza 2.5i. This will be a quick how-to on removing and installing the alternator. So let's get started. Let's start by gathering our tools. You're going to need a ratchet, a 10mm socket, a 12mm socket, an extension, and some pliers. The pliers are optional, but I do highly suggest them. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove the negative battery cable from the terminal. You're going to want to loosen up the 10mm nut that clamps the battery cable to the terminal itself. Loosen this enough so that you can remove the cable from the terminal. Next, you will be removing the alternator belt cover. This has 3 main bolts holding it together and then a 4th bolt that you'll just have to crack open. The 3 bolts circled in red are the ones that you will remove completely, and the bolt circled in blue is the bolt that you're going to crack open. The red bolts are 10mm bolts, while the blue bolt is a 12mm bolt. And you don't need to fully remove the blue bolt yet, just crack it open enough that you can slide the cover out from underneath it. Once you remove the alternator belt cover, you will see 3 bolts. These bolts are circled in red. They are 12mm bolts, and I'll go step by step as to which bolt to remove when in the coming slides. The first bolt that you're going to want to remove is the belt tensioning bolt. This is the long bolt that is located on the front left side of the alternator. This bolt size is 12mm. Before you remove the bolt, you'll want to mark on the actual threading on the bolt where the bolt comes into contact with the bolt holder. This will help you to know how far to thread the bolt into the holder when you install your new alternator to ensure proper belt tension. At this point, your alternator may begin to lower. The second bolt that you'll want to remove is the guiding bolt and the accompanying bolt holder. This is a 12mm bolt. Before you remove the third and final bolt securing the alternator to the engine, you will need to disconnect the alternator cable and alternator connector. Move aside the red rubber cover at the top of the alternator, exposing a 12mm nut. Remove this nut and then remove the cable from the alternator. Lastly, disconnect the green connector from the alternator. The final bolt connecting the alternator to the engine can now be removed. This bolt is located on the right upper end of the alternator. It allows the alternator to rotate up and down. This is a 12mm bolt. Beware, there is a bracket that comes with the bolt on the back side of the alternator. The alternator should now be able to freely move around once you remove this bolt. Remove the alternator belt from the alternator pulley, and at this point you can lift the alternator out of the vehicle. Alright, so now it's time for the install of the new alternator. So take the new alternator and set it in place. This was the most challenging part in the replacement process for me. In the next couple pictures, I will show you how I finally got it set in place, and this may make it a little bit easier for you on your reinstall. The first thing I did was screw the guiding bolt into the alternator housing once I set the alternator into its pocket. Leave this bolt loose. This basically just keeps the alternator from moving freely. In an up and down motion, gradually guide the alternator into place so that you can slide the swivel bolt into its hole. At this point, I screwed together the swivel bolt and its accompanying bracket, but left the bolt itself quite loose. Once the alternator is in place and secured, place the belt back onto the alternator pulley and replace the tensioning bolt. Begin tightening the tensioning bolt until the bolt holder lines up with the markings you made when you remove this bolt. Once the belt is tensioned, fully tighten the bolt holder bolt. You're now going to want to reinstall the alternator cover. Reinstall the left side of the cover first. Make sure that the cover hooks into the swivel bolt as well before tightening down the swivel bolt. Now you're going to want to reinstall the right alternator cover piece. At this point, once the cover is secured with all of their bolts, you're going to want to tighten down the swivel bolt fully. Lastly, connect the ground cable to the negative terminal and tighten the 10mm nut. Test your vehicle out to make sure that everything is functioning properly and as it should. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe for more how-to videos.